Welcome to Martini Time. It's been a rainy, dreary Monday here, but it's been rather bright and kind of happy inside. Here in Blackstone, the center of the world. But then you too are the center of the world. We're all the center of the world we create and live in. And this is the way, well, let me have a drink first. This is the way we integrate instead of segregate, which is the title I just typed in. Integrate, don't segregate. Now, segregate means to partition or divide. And the fundamental division that we all fall into, because it's culturally conditioned, is the feeling of myself separate from the world. So that I'm always kind of in a rub against the world. It's not quite fitting. It's not quite right. It could be better. You see, everything is qualified. Oh, this is good, but it won't last. Oh, this is not quite yet. We have to get to it, you see. Or I had it and lost it. Or maybe I'll get to it. But it's always this feeling of not being complete that infects us. That's the real flu. The feeling of incompletion. That's the flu. And there's no shot to protect us against that because it's the water we swim in our culture. You have to look at our culture, any civilization, any society, but culture kind of like includes the full Monty. I mean, it's the government, the religion, it's the customs, it's the entertainment, the whole thing. And so that culture is a integrated set of assumptions. Last night I talked about assumptions. Culture is a set of assumptions about what's real and what isn't. And so when we're born into that, we just unconsciously frame our consciousness, ourself, within the assumptions of the culture. But yet we long for completion. And as long as we identify with the assumptions of the culture, and the fundamental assumption of our culture is that you are a thing, and everyone else is a thing, and you're not really, you're kind of like an alien. We're kind of like Mr. Bean, landing poop right in the middle of this thing, and we're running around with, where am I? What is this world? What is this crazy place? We're born into a family. What's this crazy place? We're born into a society, and we as we become, it becomes really crazy. We just can't make sense out of it. We can't integrate it. We can't become feeling whole with it. And that's because of the basic assumption of our society. So when you start with the assumption that you're separate, you're never going to be integrated. You're always going to be segregated. The assumptions segregate us, you see. And so the whole Dharma Trail, by the way, we're all on the Dharma Trail if you're listening to me. So happy trails to you, just like Roy Rogers. So the Dharma Trail is the discovering and letting go of the assumptions that segregate our life. It's very simple. It's having the attention to see what the truth is. It's having the heartfelt desire to see what's true and not hide anything and not put hand over your eye, not wear a veil, not to assume what you think is true, and not to just believe your thinking. So it's a real journey built on the attention, the heartfelt intention, to see what's true. And now truth is whole. That's what truth means. Truth is not divided, truth is whole. So when we feel divided, we feel segregated, truth is missing. So if we love the truth, then we're going to have the intention to see the truth, which means first seeing the assumptions I believe. And when I see the assumption, it falls off. It becomes transparent. It's not, you don't leave it, it just becomes transparent. like it's film. And suddenly you just move through it. You act through it. You act through it. You don't believe through it. You don't believe another assumption. You act through it. You suddenly are just spontaneously doing something that you didn't think you should or ought or could do, you see, because you were blocked in by assumptions. So assumptions are unconscious. That's why you can't see them. So the Dharma Trail is to move from unconsciousness to consciousness, from unaware to aware, from opaque to transparency. That is the Dharma Trail. And it can only be followed by intention. It can't be followed by choice. It can't be followed by beliefs. I believe this instead of that. It can't be followed by following a plan or a method or a manual, you see, because there is no manual to truth. The manual assumes you don't have truth. The manual assumes you want to get to it. The manual assumes you need to be fixed. You see, you get a manual when your coffee maker's broken. I got to fix it, you see. But that doesn't work with life. So as long as you assume you have to be fixed, that the world can be fixed, you are in a segregated mindset, you see. Yet the longing for integration, for unity, haunts us. So anyway, that's my little talk for today. I was in the local drugstore, and I met a fellow. We struck up a conversation, and I was talking about doing Facebook Live. He might be watching right now. He said, "Why don't you preach?" Well, and I told him, well, I wanted to be a minister back in 1970, but I failed at that. So, and I wrote the other day that my life has been like a gladiola flower, of one failed bloom after another. And these are blooms of failure. And I thought that was a very interesting metaphor, because all of us have failures. But if you look on those failures as the flowers on a gladiola, and the gladiola stem, if you notice, pushes you bloom here, and then that dies, and then there's another. So the bloom evolves. It's an evolving bloom, you see. And so we follow the Dharma Trail through our failures, which is a realization of an assumption. The failure is when you follow out an assumption and it fails. And you realize it was an assumption. So you bloom the next flower. So your life then is a gladiola stem of failing blooms. And I thought that was an interesting way of looking at failure. So the other thought I had today was that he asked my friend, well, how long do you talk? And I said, about 20 minutes. He says, well, and I said, well, I could talk for an hour, but I down to 20 minutes. The other thing was, I did a portrait this afternoon. While I'm semi-retired, I haven't been advertising photography like I did when I was full-time. Everything kind of dried up after the recession, and I got on Social Security, and I want to write. I want to preach. You see. So anyway, the guy came in, took a picture for his kid, and had his little girl with him. So there are two little kids here, and the next thing we took the picture, and he was real happy, wanted some prints. And by the way, I am open for business, and you can get a custom portrait with a canvas backdrop, lighting, all the works, and all the proofs you need to shoot till you're happy. And the portrait would be $45, and you get an 8x10 and a set of wallets. And for $60, you get a CD with copyright to all of the proofs, so you can print them at Walmart. You don't have to come back to me. So anyway, I decided that I would get on Facebook and advertise it and put out this, because people have forgotten here in the area that I still do photography, and I'm good. And you might get something for a present, because the kids came in, and the next thing I know, the little boy said he was talking about Star Wars, and the next thing I know, I gave him my lightsaber. You remember I did a talk about the lightsaber, and I had on the hood, and I was the last Jedi hiding here in Blackstone. Nobody knows where I am, Well, I gave him my lightsaber. And the little girl, well, I had, And so I had that, I did a talk of monkey around my neck. Somebody gave me a massage monkey that you hang around the neck. And I gave that to her. And her father says, oh, she loves monkeys. And that was so great. That was so great to be able to spontaneously give something to. So if you come here, please, don't look at something and say, oh, I really like that. Please, don't do that. Don't do that. So, anyway, because that's the Dharma Trail. Things come and go. You become a conduit. Things come in, things go out. You don't hold. It's all letting go. And the more you let go, the more it comes in. That's the magic of the Dharma Trail. The more you let go, the more comes in. That's the way life works. It's a recycle bin, you see. You give and it comes in. But the giving has to be just heartfelt, fun, spontaneous giving. Giving that just, you have no choice but to give. Not, oh, should I give or not? Oh, no thought at all. It's just here. It's just here. I've got something for you. I've got something for you. Just for you. Here. And they light up. And there's no better Dharma than that. So anyway, thanks for dropping in. So I'll finish my martini now.